Hi, my name is Ellie Burns and I work in product marketing at Onfido, the place where identity is made simple. I'm here with our resident fraud expert, Simon Horswell, to talk about the latest findings from our recently launched 2023 Onfido fraud report. Hi, Simon.
Hi, Ellie. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Everyone's sort of in agreement that everyone should take a multi-layered approach to fraud prevention. What does that mean to you? And what's a practical way for businesses to approach it?
So you talk about it in terms of physical defense, you talk about the onion principle, right? So there's all these different layers, all these different skins. And I think in any kind of defense, you should think of it that way. Don't rely on one piece of armor to stop everything, right? In the same way that I think recently when I've talked about it with people, I've rather a topical one of like, don't expect one vaccine to cover all of your immunity, right? You want different vaccines for different types of disease. That's kind of the approach that I would take to fraud when we're talking about it in this space as well. Don't think that just because you've got a provider who's really, really good at documents, that covers you for everything, because it doesn't. I could have a genuine document and then somehow spoof the biometrics. Right? There are ways that you can spoof the biometrics. I never like to advertise these methods, but there are ways around it. We've seen people trying to attack around these ways as well. And even if you've got both of those right, there could be other telltale signs that would indicate there's fraud. I think many of the financial services are very clued up and very aware of what these other signals are. And it's certainly the areas that Onfido is starting to branch out into as well. So it's just making sure that you are doing everything you can to stop fraud and not just relying on one of those layers to do all the work. I think you have to think of fraud in a much more holistic way and don't rely on one thing being a silver bullet. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. No one really cares how you stop the fraud as long as you stop the fraud. But I think the only way that that you'll be able to stop 100% of fraud is to stop 100% of genuine users as well. It's always a trade-off, and it's just where you find that you're comfortable with that line. And most sensible companies will want to be right up there and stop as much as possible. But it is that balancing act. So it's you'll never catch them all. And again, one of the phrases that is almost cliched when we're talking about fraud and any aspect of fraud is it is a game of cat and mouse. You're constantly trying to reiterate and renew what you're doing, because the fraudsters are doing exactly the same thing. They're not sitting around and waiting. They're not just one entity. We're talking about lots of different elements, lots of different individuals and groups of individuals who are constantly looking for the other way in. So it's stopping everyone is going to be ultimately impossible, which is why we're constantly evolving. They're constantly evolving. You have to keep that wheel moving.
Keep that innovation going.
Yeah.
Meet them toe to toe. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing some of your insights with the fraud report. I urge everyone watching, it's a great report filled with really, really robust insights, and it's available now, the 2023 Onfido fraud report. Thank you, Simon, for your time, and thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, Ellie.